Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Retro Gaming with Hopper. Today we're going to keep working on our rock-ola 477 here. If you watched the first one, if you haven't watched the first one, there's a link to it right there. And you can watch as we get started on this rock-ola 477. Last time I showed you in the first video. I showed you that first episode, I should say. I showed you that what the mechanism was doing. It would load the record kinda. It would kind of miss the turntable a little bit, and then it would fall on. But the needle would come over. The arm would come over and barely set the needle on the record, and it would just kind of move right over and then eject it and end. So I kind of determined that I think mainly it was just all gummed up. So we took the mechanism out of the cabinet, sitting right here, and cleaned it all up. Got all the mechanism cleaned up. We oiled it lightly with some 3-in-1 oil. After I got it all cleaned up, put a little white lithium grease on some of the gears, just a little bit, so when it does start spinning, it'll work that grease all around the whole thing, and kind of just give it so it meshes up really nice. Everything was all freed up. We took the motors off of it, checked all the motors, checked the gearboxes. One of them, all the grease was on top of the gear, and there was no grease down on the gear, so we had some dry spots, so we repacked that full of grease and got that all lubed up. This one needed adjusted. There was a lot of slop in the motor back and forth, so we adjusted it. I showed you how to adjust that and got that all tightened up. Let's see, what else did we do? That was about it. Got her all cleaned up, lubed, and ready to go back in the cabinet. So with this episode, we're going to clean the cabinet up. We got some vermin turds in it we got to clean up. We'll get this all vacuumed out and cleaned up, and we'll get the mech put back in and get it fired up in this episode and see if we cured the problem. And hopefully we did. So with that, I think what we're going to do next is probably get started on putting this mech back in. Like I said, everything on this was in really good shape. Nothing worn. Just that one motor had a lot of slop in it, and we got that sucked up. All the switches are good. They're all working. Now this has a battery, but it was disconnected when I got the unit, so I'm kind of figuring that thing's probably junk. I'll have to look up in the manual. I'm not familiar with why there'd be a battery on this thing. And let's see. Now I showed you, the old oil, the old grease that was on this, and why it was not working properly. But when I first took the motors off, you could barely move this, and you could get it up over the hump, and you could get it to move. But as soon as I cleaned it all up, now all you have to do is you can just turn it by hand, and it'll go through the whole cycle by hand real easy. So let's go ahead and get this back in the cabinet and see if we can't get it fired up and see what's going on. Make sure we got everything all squared away on it. Look at this crap. First snowfall of the year. Thought maybe some of you people in the warm weather areas would like to see it snowing. Yeah, right. Huh. Better me than you. We'll come back in here where it's warm. Warmish. Okay, we're getting ready to put put the mechanism back in the cabinet. So I'm going to set you up on the tripod and let you watch a little bit of me putting the mech in. Thought maybe you might want to see it. Get you all lined up here. Get you out of the way. Unless one of you want to put it in. I mean, hell, if you want to put it in, I'll gladly let you pick it up and put it in there for me, and I'll finish bolting it down. But no takers? All right, I guess I'll have to do it myself. Okay, look out, coming at you. Ah, come on. Oh, not too bad. Could have been worse. Get those spring mounts lined up. Over here and sit down on the job. Us old people gotta sit when we work. Okay, now that I got it in there, let me get you a little better view. Okay, like I said, if you've never done one of these, see you have this, you have your bolt that goes up through, and on the top you have that little groove. Once it, let me see if I can get you in here without banging everything up. Okay, once you get your bolt sticking up through, you slide that little keeper on it and squeeze it so it can't come back off. So we'll see if I can get the, there we go. Slide him right on there. Spin him around a little bit so I can get a hold of it. And come on. And squeeze it together. Oop. Let me show you. There we go. Squeeze it together so it can't come off. That way you take and you run your bolt all the way down till it loosens up the mount. That way now it can sit there and bounce and move around. And then when you transport it, you just screw this all the way up, and you'll watch, it'll You tighten this up. Now pull the mech all the way down onto that pad. And then you tighten it up more, of course, and it'll pull it all the way down, and then it won't move. You do all four corners. That way when you're moving it, it doesn't jar the mechanism. So I got 3 more of these to do. I can get them put in, and then we'll start getting everything wired up. Still got to put the encoder and all that back on. It was easier just to pull the encoder off and the one on the back. The one on the back that goes back in there, so I can get at these retainers a little easier. Plus, I don't have to worry about bumping them, breaking them, whatever. This one, like I said, that one you can't pull. You can pull it off, but it's a big hassle, and there's too much involved in pulling that one off. So you just have to be really careful with this one when you're pulling the mech out of here. But we're moving along. We'll get her. So I'll get you set up, and and I'll shoot some footage of me putting it in. I showed you me shoving it in the cabinet and setting it down. I'll set you up, and you can watch as I get everything all wired up. The only bad thing about doing videos is there's 2. One, you can't do everything with one hand. And 2, no stinking music. God, it's the only bad thing. And when I'm doing videos, I have my radio going, and then I'll go to do a video, and then I have to go turn the radio off and start a video. And then when I'm done with a video, with a segment, then I can go ahead and turn the radio back on. That's the worst part. No radio. Like that old song, I want my MTV. I don't know if everybody remembers that or not. It might be a little older than some of you. When MTV actually played music videos. Like back in the 80s. So this jukebox is ideal for me. This was the era of big hair music. So much good music in the 80s. People just don't know what they're missing. Come on. Sometimes that little notch on the end of your bolt kind of screws things up. You probably all you've seen was the back of my head on that. But we're back over there working. I'll edit some of this, maybe. Because it's like, why watch it if you can't see what the hell I'm doing? I'll get this one squeezed a little bit. But yeah, we vacuumed out the bottom. I got the old turd sucker going and sucked up all the turds and wiped it down so it doesn't smell like vermin urine. Got that all cleaned up. Wipe down some other stuff, and it looks pretty good. It's not of restoration, it's just to get it to a working order so it works reliably. And I may take this one into my store and let people enjoy it in there. Alright, where you at? Oh, this is that one that's a real bummer. The sucker's right next to the cash box. So I'll get this one in, and then we'll come back and do some more. Alright, now I got that back one in. That one, you can see it's right back in there. And I got that one in. That one took me a little bit because it was just the way it's positioned. You don't want to screw with the arm too much. Okay, and our big harness. In there. That one clips down in there. The counter's hooked up. We're ready for the encoder. I got one wire over here. I don't think you can see over here, but I'm gonna plug in one over on the other side. And make sure grab the encoder. Got our 1/4" nut driver. What's nice is this just hangs on here. Like so. Okay, got my records all loaded up in it, and now we can put on the front panel and get the speakers plugged in before we try and run it any. I don't want that amp running without any output. There's 2 tabs down on the bottom of the front door. Just fit right down in those slots. There's 2 slots down in there. There we are. Yep. And plug in the speakers. Plug in. I don't know if you can see, but right over here. And in the first video, I said that we had a woofer and a mid-range. Well, these are tweeters. All we have is woofers and tweeters. The woofers handle the bass and the mid-range, and then you have your tweeters, and that's the crossover that crosses and splits the the signal, sends the high frequencies to the tweeter speakers and the low and mid-range frequencies to the woofers. This just snaps in, like so, and now it's ready. I'll get you off the tripod. Let's see. See on scan how nice and quiet that is. Before it was noisier. Put it back in okay, and then put it on operate. And now I'm not going to be able to let you listen to a whole song if it's going to play because of yeah, you know why. So we'll play 183. Always goes around once to find out where it's at. Aha, sets it right down.
He was looking for a man song on the fiddle.
Still kind of skipping. I'm going to turn that off. Okay. So we do have the mech running a little better, but we still don't have enough tension on our record. So let me look up and find out how to adjust the tension on this tone arm, and we'll get that figured out better. So I'll shut this off, and then when I come back, I'll know how to adjust the tension on that. We need just a little bit more tension on the tone arm, on the old tone arm, so the fang sits on the record a little heavier, and we'll get that figured out. Okay, so we want a little bit more pressure down on the tone arm, so it sits on the record a little heavier, pushes down a little bit more. We'll come over here to the service manual, and here we are, the tone arm gram pressure adjustment. Magnetic 3 to 5 grams. Okay, well I don't have a scale to do this, and so we're just gonna kind of wing it a little bit here. Each lug represents approximately 1 gram of pressure. What you do is under the tone arm, the spring, there's notches, little knobbies that the spring hooks onto. So what we want to do is we want to move the spring closer to the back of the tone arm, so it'll put a little bit more pressure. Here we go, that's a little better. You see the spring, and this is what gives you your pressure down on your needle on the tone arm. We want to move this spring back 1 notch. You see, back towards the back to increase the pressure, and if you move it to the front to decrease the pressure so it's lighter. So we want to make this a little heavier, so it sits down onto the record just a little bit harder, and we'll play hopefully better. Needle pressure reading is taken at the point of contact of the needle on the record. So that'd be kind of fun. You get to try and do that while the thing's playing. Okay, so let's do that. Let's move that down. We'll move that spring 1 notch back towards the back and see if that helps. And now I know I'm not going to be able to hold this, and you can watch me do it, but I did show you the diagram on how it's done, so I'll be right back. Okay, it's really simple, but I knew you wouldn't have been able to see me do this with my head stuck in there. Okay, as you can, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, but the spring just hooks on those little tabs, and we just moved it back 1 to see if we could see if that'll strengthen setting it down on there a little heavier, and see if it'll actually play through. Nope, I think I went the wrong way. Okay. It seems like as soon as you turn it on, it wants to play a record. It might just be a feature of the rock-ola. I'll have to read up on that. So let me adjust that again and see what happens. Okay, move that spring back the other way and we'll see what happens. I went the one that it was on, and then one more. So we'll see if that puts enough pressure down on it. Okay folks, I adjusted on that tone arm for probably half an hour to an hour, trying to get it to either, to sit down on the record and play. Most of the time it would just want to take and skip across it and then eject. Other times when I adjusted it, it would just not even sit on the record, it'd just move right across and then eject. So I got a new needle for it. There we go. I'm trying out a new microphone system too, to see if I can get rid of the focusing noise. I've used this one before, but I've had problems with it where I get a lot of noise out of it. But we're gonna try it again. Getting tired of editing videos and listening to my camera focus all the time, so we're gonna try that out. So all we have to do on this is just take her and pull it out, pull it right off. That's our old one. Take our new one. This is a diamond. And just plug it right in, like so. Now we have a new needle installed. And hopefully that will take care of our problem. And maybe it'll play like it should. This is what I put in. Now it's kind of nice. I can walk all the way over the other side of the garage and you won't even hear it. The microphone will be the same. Okay, we'll turn her on. I have it off right now in the off position. Okay, I'll turn it on. Now I might still have to adjust this. In fact, before I let it play anything, I'm going to see where I have it adjusted. I'm going to start with this right in the middle. Well, that took care of our problem. I set it right back to where it was when I got it, right in the middle. And it seems like that's where it's happiest. So that's where we're going to leave it for now. We're going to do a few other things. We're going to get this all cleaned up, and this one will be ready to go. Like I said, just had a few other spots on it that needed taken care of, and then we'll just mainly now cleaning it up. So let's get this cleaned up. I still want to look at that hit tracker. Let me see if I can get you off the tripod here without dumping you. Okay, I still want to take a look at that hit tracker and see what the hell that dude is sitting up right there. Because as you can see, it's kind of blowed out on the side. I want to take a look and see what that is and see if that's a battery or what it is. So the brand new needle took care of our problem. So if you run into that problem where you can't get that adjusted, 9 chances out of 10 you're probably going to need a new needle. Excuse me. So now let's pull that hit tracker off and see if we can't find out what the hell that is.